Video, we have seen different phases of software development life cycle. So that is requirements phase, analysis, design, coding phase. So coding phase, what the development team is doing, they are going to implement the software according to the low level design with the pseudocode provided by the development team. That means what they are going to do, they are going to build the application as per the requirement. So once they build the application, build means create the application. So whenever they build the application, whatever the application they are building, that we will call it as AUT, stands for application under test. Application under test means whatever the software you are going to test, that we will call it as AUT, or some people may call it as build, some people may call it as application also. It depends on how you call that. So now coming to the testing phase, who will be involved in the testing phase? You will be having all the testers, and also you will have an interaction with business analyst also if you have any questions, and also you will be interacting with developers whenever you raise any defects. A defect means a deviation from the requirement. At the time also you need to talk to your developers, and your project manager also will involve and monitor the entire process. Every phase project manager should be there. So that could be a development project manager. If it is exclusively a testing, the testing manager also will involve. So you no need to worry about how what are all the activities of the other people, but you just need to know who is going to be part of this phase. So now whatever we are going to look currently is a traditional approach. So there is a traditional approach where people used to have waterfall model and V model. Okay. So in these two models, we generally have FRS document, and based on that, you will be testing the application as per the requirement. But the current trend is like everybody is following agile process. I will explain you the agile testing process in a separate video, but for now, this is a generic testing process which we are going to see now. So what is going to happen in the testing phase? So before we do that, what would be our input? So if you look at requirements phase outcome, FRS will be input for analysis phase. Analysis phase outcome, SRS document will be input for design phase, and a design phase output document, TDD and GUI input for coding phase. Now coding phase outcome is source code document and build. So can we take that as our input for testing phase? No, because we will not test against the code. We will not test the application against the built application. What we are going to do, we have to test the application according to the customer requirements. That means your FRS document will be input for the testing phase. So that means first of all, testing team will get the functional requirement document along with the development team, and they will also get FRS and SRS to understand how the system is going to behave. So you can consider either FRS or SRS document, whichever the document will provide a detailed information about the requirement, that document will be provided to the testing team. So once that is given, then what are they going to do? First of all, so the process goes like this. So first of all, your testing team members, all the testing team members will get some knowledge or overview on the application from the business analyst who has the knowledge. So first of all, this guy will talk to the entire testing team and conduct some sessions. It could be he might be doing it from on-site, that is the customer's site. He will include both developers and testers to provide the knowledge. So he might transfer the knowledge to both developers and testers also, and he will explain the entire application, what exactly the customer is expecting us to build. So once this person provides the knowledge, these people will get a high level understanding of the entire application. Here he may explain couple of things, like he will explain the architecture, how the system should behave, architecture of the project, and the features what the customer is expecting. If at all people are not aware of the domain, for example, there are health insurance and banking and financial services. These are the major domains available in the IT market. So there are so many others are there, but most of the companies will do the projects which are called BFSI. BFSI stands for, B stands for banking, FS stands for financial services, I stands for insurance. So there are various categories of insurances like your vehicle insurances and health insurances. So you need to understand those terminologies also in order to understand the functionality of the application. So that's the reason your business analyst is the right person who, some companies will call this business analyst also as SME. SME stands for subject matter expert. SME, subject matter expert, who provides the knowledge to the team. So once these people understand, they will go through the functional requirement document. So there will be a document, as I told you, the given document to the testing team. So FRS document will be reviewed by the reviewed by the testing team. So once this team review this document, so the document will be breakdown. So they will break down the high level requirements into simple requirements. That means user understandable requirements. Let me give you an example. Let us say if I say a high level requirement of a bank, for example, Citibank must have ability to transfer funds. This is the requirement they have told. That means what exactly the requirement should consist of. The business analyst understand this process, and to do this, first of all, the user, whoever is using Citibank application, user should log into Citibank. That is the first step. And then user should able to add the payee, whomever you wanted to transfer the money, and user should be able to transfer the money. So there are various other features also they may include. For example, Citibank to Citibank, this is one kind of feature, and Citibank to other bank, that means non-city bank account. Let's say uh, other user where you wanted to transfer the money from Citibank to ICICI or HDFC or whatever the other banks you wanted to transfer. So that also you need to have. So like this, your requirement document will explain in a detailed manner about what exactly the customer is looking. So that document will be taken care, and the document will be created by your subject matter expert. Even though sometimes the requirement document has been given, still you will have some doubts or some ambiguity in the requirement. Ambiguity means confusion. So whenever you are confused, you will not be able to test it. So remember one point here: you should never assume things when you are testing. You have to be very clear and what needs to be tested. So according to the requirements, you have to test it according to the requirements. So you are going to test the application. Okay, so first what is going to happen: business analyst will conduct a meeting with the entire team to provide the high level overview of the project and explains the high level features and the business, and the testing team will go through the requirement documents, and if there are any questions, they will create one log called clarification log. So when I say clarification log, it is like clarification log. They will keep it in an Excel, and they will put some serial number, and then what is the requirement ID you are going through, and what is the description of the requirement, and what is your query. And then you will be having your raised by, that means who has raised this, and who is going to provide the solution provided by. And then you are going to have, you will be having a date of closure, date raised, and then status, whether it is closed or not. Say for example, I'm writing some 1.1 is my requirement number, and then transfer money. So what is the query I have? I'll be writing saying that can we transfer money to on-site money to USA. That means foreign transaction. That means you will be raising this query and then raised by, let us say I'm writing my name, and then solution provided by your business analyst. If at all he wanted to provide, he will provide the solution, and I will raise the date, which date I have raised. Say for example, what is today's date? So 7th. Let's say I have raised it on 7th. Remember guys, always you will be going with and DD and YY format. So you will be writing that date, and then you will be putting it as open. So like that, everybody, whoever have the questions, so they will be writing all of them in the clarification log. And the next day when you meet the business analyst, or this document will be shared in a common place where everybody can access, and then they go through and they provide the solution for this, and finally they will get the clarifications. Once the clarification is done, then the testing process will get started. Whenever you are going to do testing at a high level, first what they are going to do is they will be starting with a test plan document. So test plan document will tell you what is the scope for our testing and what is out of scope for our testing. So that means what features you are going to test and what features you are not going to test. You will be clearly specifying the information using the template which is taken from your company's document repository. So this activity, you can say that you are able to do it, or else your test lead will take care of this activity. There is nothing hard in defining a test plan document. You need to know what exactly you are going to do, how are you going to do the activities in a phased manner, and what are all the steps you are going to follow. So we are going to look at these documents in a detailed manner in the next session, but here you just need to understand all the topics at high level, so to understand the testing process. So what is going to happen now? So once the test plan document is done, there is one concept where you are going to derive the high level test scenarios and test cases which you are going to execute on that particular application. When I say test scenarios, let's say verify login functionality is my scenario. So under this, I will have multiple test cases. For example, verify login with valid user ID and valid password. This is my first test case. Similarly, I'll be having one more test case where I'll be verify login with invalid user ID and valid password. Similarly, I may go and test one more thing, valid user ID and invalid password. And also you will be having invalid user ID and invalid password. And also you may test verify you are not giving any value, empty user ID and valid or invalid password. Similarly, valid or invalid user ID and empty password. And also you will be having both of them are empty, and then you try to hit the button. So there also, if you look at one test scenario testing a specific condition, what is that specific condition you are testing? You are testing the login functionality of the application. So you have a user ID, you have a password, and you are going to log into that application. Let us say this is your application. So assume this is your user ID and this is your password, and then this is your login button. So assume this is what your application. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write user ID, and then you will be having your password here, and this is your login button. So for this, we have written those many test cases. So when I say test cases, you are going to have a detailed step-by-step process. We are going to see that. So to test this, how many I have written now? So if you look at, I have written 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 cases we have written from one test scenario. So whatever the system is supposed to do, that means if I provide valid user ID and valid password, and if I am able to see the corresponding page, then this called positive scenario. Positive scenario. And what the system is supposed to do is called positive scenario, and rest of them are negative scenarios, what the system is not supposed to do. So what the system is not supposed to do, if at all I give invalid user ID and valid password, it should throw me an error message. That is what the system is supposed to do, but it should not allow me to log in with a invalid user ID. So like that you will be writing all the test cases. So now I'll just give you an example of a test case also. So whenever you say test case, your title, whatever the title you have written, that will come here. Verify login with valid user ID and valid password. This is your test case title, and then you will be having some steps. So when I say steps, first you will be having, first you need to open the application. To open the application, invoke application. You will be writing the URL. URL stands for Uniform Resource Locator. What do you mean by URL? Let us say if you are opening Amazon application, amazon.co.in or amazon.in. See, this is the URL of this application. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to write instead of this URL, Amazon. Okay, like that you will be writing. And now if you see, if I clicked enter, it will go to the next cell, but I wanted to write the data in the same cell. What you're going to do, double click here, cursor will come, press alt enter. Most of the people don't know this, and they will simply press enter button. So what you have to press alt enter, alt key enter together, and then enter valid user ID and enter valid password, and the last one is click on login button. This is how you will be writing the steps, and then you will be having the expected result. This template also we will see in the detailed sessions at a later point of time. So what is the expected result? So user should be able to log in successfully. So this is what you will be able to see, and actual result also will be there in your template, but you are not going to write this actual result. So during your testing time, that means that we call it as a test execution time, you are going to write the result, and then you will be having a column called status. So there are so many other fields also there in the test case template, but these are very, very important. So now once you understand this test case steps, these are test case steps. So now what is the difference between test scenario and test case? Test scenario means it is a high level condition which you are going to test. A test case means a detailed step by step process to achieve that particular functionality. So now what we are going to do, so you will be writing all the test scenarios and test cases to the corresponding modules. Then there will be review. What do you mean by review? Review means other person will review your test cases if there are any mistakes, and if you have covered only, let us say you wrote only till this point and you did not write the other things, then they may say that you can add these scenarios also, these test cases also, to test that particular functionality. At that time what you will be doing, you will be adding all those test cases here and you will complete your review. So if you remember your 10th standard mathematics basics, so there is a conjunction concept. Let us say if you are talking about conjunction, P and Q are two statements, P and Q. So how are you going to define P and Q? When both the statements are true, your P and Q is true. So if one of these statement is false, that means true false means false. Similarly, false true means false. And finally, false false, it would be also false. So if you look at, if you replace P with user ID and Q with password and this with your expected result, automatically you will get some idea on how to write the scenarios. So here it is valid and valid, and then home page of the user should come. And if you look at valid and F means invalid. Invalid password, error message should display. And similarly, invalid and then valid and then error message should come. Similarly, invalid, error message should come. So like that, you will be writing your test cases. We will go through all of these in a detailed manner at a later point of time. So for now, once the test cases are done, so for every phase, if you write a test plan also, there will be a review. So once you get the review, everything will be reviewed by your test lead and project manager, and sometimes your customer also will review and they provide the feedback. So based on the feedbacks, you will be updating the document and providing one more time the walkthrough. Walkthrough means you are going to explain them by showing the document. Let us say how I have shown you, right? Just now I have shown you. So this is how, so this is my test case, and this we are going to test the login functionality with valid user ID and valid password. So you are going to share your screen and explain them what is that you have done in the document. So that is what you will be doing. Once everything is done, then you will say that you are ready for testing. Once all the review is done, all your test cases are ready for testing. So you will have your test cases ready. Then what do you need to test? You need to have the application to test. That's the reason in the testing phase, you will be having build also as one more input to perform your testing. So once you get the build, so you will wait for the build to be released by the development team. Once you get the build, you will execute all your test cases, execute all the test cases on the build. So here you are going to perform sanity testing, and then you are going to perform the system testing. What is this? We will discuss in a subsequent sessions. So when I say sanity testing, so you are going to execute a couple of test cases on the application to say whether the application is properly working or not. If I click on this particular link, whether it is navigating or not. If I click on this link, whether it is navigating or not, whether I'm able to log in or not. So then only you will be able to test it properly. That we call it as sanity testing. So system testing means whatever the functionalities you have to test, you are going to test them one by one. For example, if I have to add one item to the cart, so whether I'm able to sign up to the account or not, adding to the cart or not, all those functionalities I'm going to test as part of my system testing. See, I gave some number. See, it is incorrect phone number, whether this is working fine or not. So those things we will be doing as part of our system testing. And if you don't understand anything, let us say simply you go to a mobile shop where you wanted to buy a new phone. How are you going to buy? You will purchase and you will see the demo piece, and then you will purchase a new phone. So once you purchase the new phone, you will take the phone and ask him to insert the SIM card, and you will test a couple of features, right? Test some features on the phone, and you will dial to your loud people, and then you will see the camera, and you will also see the song's audio quality. All those things you will check, but you will not test not test the entire phone in the store. So this we call it as sanity testing, high level testing. So once you get the phone to your home, you are going to try to operate all the features and test the phone. If there is any problem comes in, you will report it to the shop person. The shop person is your developer here. So developer is your shop person. For example, after you go home, your Wi-Fi is not working. That means there is a problem. So what you are going to do? You will go to the shop and he will ask for replacement of the piece. When I say replacement, if you have guarantee, then only they will replace it. If you have only warranty, they will not replace it. They will repair it. So warranty means they will not change the piece whatever they have given. They will just repair the problem and give it to you. If there is a guarantee policy, they will replace the item. So now most of the cases you will be having warranty, and they will fix the problem and give it back to you, and then you are going to retest it. So retest means testing one more time whether the Wi-Fi is working fine or not. Along with that, you are going to check other features also to ensure that whether your phone is properly working, because he touched your phone, right? He opened the phone and there are some interlinks also. You will be checking whether your calls are going or not, whether your phone buttons are not working fine or not. All those things, if you are checking any logical linked functionalities, that we call it as regression testing. Okay, so this is just a high level, guys. Understand what is sanity testing and what is system testing. You are going to do retesting, you are going to perform regression testing. So this entire process will happen in the test execution phase. Why we will do all these things? To identify the defects. Defects means deviation from the requirement. If at all something is not working as expected, you will log them as a defect. Log them as a defect and send it to the developers, and you will retest. And finally, once the defect is resolved, you will close the defect. You will say that okay, the defect is closed. That means the application is working fine now. So this process you will continue by executing all your test cases. If there are any defects and after you test still the problem is there, again you will send it back to the development team. For example, in this case, if your Wi-Fi is not working after the repair also, again you will give it back to the cell shop person and ask him to fix it. So once he fix it again, you will continue your testing as long as you see the Wi-Fi is working fine. Not only that, you will check other functionalities also working fine. So like that, you are going to complete your entire testing process. So this testing process, you are going to call it as system testing. And after system testing, there is one more type of testing that will be performed by business team, that we call it as UAT. Stands for user acceptance testing. User acceptance testing. So when we get this, before we get into the system testing phase, developer also will do couple of testing types, that is unit testing and then module testing, and also they will be performing integration testing. So these will be covered as part of our levels of testing topic. There I will explain you what is unit, what is module, and what is integration. For now, we understand the entire testing process which we do as part of our testing job. So now once you are clear with the testing, then it will go to UAT. So UAT, there are two categories of testings they are going to perform. That is also same kind of testing whatever we do. One is alpha testing and the second one is beta testing. Alpha testing, what will happen? Alpha testing means, that means within our organization, by our testing team, you will be testing the application in the presence of customer. You are going to test the application. So this, whatever the activities we have done as part of our functionality testing, you are going to perform it in front of the customer. That we call it as alpha testing. Similarly, beta testing means you are going to do that at the customer location by third party testing team. Third party testing team, that means not from your company. For example, our company is TCS, some other company, Wipro or somebody else will perform the testing in the presence of customer. So what will happen in these two phases, you just need to understand it very clearly. For example, if you identify any defect when you are demonstrating it to the customer, you identified by your testing team within your company, what you're going to do is you will say that customer, you will fix the problem and demonstrate it again. Fix the problem and demo it again. If at all somebody else identifies your mistake, then it will be raised as a leakage in your testing. That means you did not test the application properly. That's the reason you have to be very careful when you are performing by our other party testing teams. So most of the cases business users will be performing this testing. If something they identify which is not identified by our testing team, then we need to provide valid justification why we miss that particular functionality, why we were not able to identify the defect in our testing phase. So these things will happen, and the software, once everything is done, because if you look at unit testing, module testing, integration testing, developers are doing 3 levels of testing, and testing team is doing 1 level of testing, and then business users are doing another level of testing. Then only the software is ready for release. When I say release, they can directly release that software into the market. So that means it is already tested. That means we are assuming that there are no defects in the system. There might be defects, but maximum 99.9% we will ensure that the application is defect free. Okay, so then only your customer will be able to identify that, okay, they can directly use it. For example, if you take an example of Vijeta or more supermarket, you are purchasing some 100 items. Okay, 100 items you are purchasing, and you will be getting some bill of around 6,800 or something. So will you calculate all the items and how much percentage offer they have given? No. What you are going to do, you are going to simply pay this bill whatever they have given, because you believe the software is already tested. That's the reason you will trust the software and pay the money. So that is how the software will be tested, and finally you are going to deliver it to the customer and then maintain the software